It's 13 hours on the DOT or on the dot if you like, and this is the Lunchtime Cafe right here on Camnet TV. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. We have nothing but the best for you in terms of current affairs. I will be introducing my guest this afternoon, not even much later, a bit later. But my name is Joe Smart, and of course, you can come through and join in the conversation by calling, sending us a text, as you are aware that we are live on Facebook, YouTube, as well as DSTV and Go TV. Please join in the conversation this afternoon. Now, quickly, in case you missed out the newspaper headlines, we'll be going through the newspapers, and some of the stories will form part of our discussion this afternoon. Let's see what the newspapers have for us this
Hey, join me, amazing Katamanda, on the weekly gospel show for those exciting and interesting interviews with your favorite gospel music.
Sincere apologies for that breaking transmission. Live TV, anything is possible. We sincerely apologize. We are going into our newspapers and seeing newspaper headlines for this particular afternoon before we can delve into our main interview with my guest, whom I will be introducing much later. Let's see what the daily tabloids are saying this afternoon. Okay, so we'll be checking out the newspapers and see what they are saying this afternoon. Interesting headlines or juicy headlines, if you like. A lot of ministers, senior government officials need to be fired. Moyo. IMF warns Zambia. Obviously, this warning is coming in relation with the dollarization idea that Zambia, together with the Bank of Zambia, have come up with. And IMF obviously is warning the Zambian government. HH must scrutinize his team, identify the liabilities. Kaide. Government directs schools to stop receiving educational requisites from Mikalile. Okay. If HH means war for Zambia, why didn't he consider Mabenga for energy minister? That's Mumba there. Okay, let's move on to another daily tabloid and see what other papers are saying. We go to a News Diggers and it reads, they manipulated SEC, that's the Anti-Corruption Commission, Mwenye, and that story is attributed to the former board chairperson for the SEC, and according to him, the SEC management they manipulated SEC, according to this headline, by appointing a strong board with a user-friendly management. Okay. Cartel reselling Eagle Milli Mill at high prices. ZNS. Attorney General justifies payment of $33 million for construction of FTJ University. Interesting headline there. Let's move on to another headline and see what we have this afternoon. The Daily Nation comes up and says, corruption fight selective. And that story is attributed to the former board chairperson for the Anti-Corruption Commission, Mr. Musa Mwenye. And he says demands dismissal, investigation, arrest, and also prosecution of all current and of all corrupt government officials serving in the current administration as he challenges those serving in public office to declare their assets, financial dealings. How I wish the board chair had revealed this to the public when he was the board chair of the Anti-Corruption Commission. And obviously those sentiments are shared by many Zambians out there. Convicted scammers file for an appeal. UPND should pay the price. Kafwaya corruption fight is faceless. Kalungu. And we go to the statement. This particular statement, press release from the office of the President, State House. President Ichilema makes changes to ministerial level. President Hakainde Hichilema press 1 to Article 92I of the Constitution of the Republic of Zambia. Transferred Honorable Sylvia Timasewo, MP, to a Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, and Honorable Elijah Mchima, MP, to a Minister of Health with immediate effect. Okay, reads in part, and of course, courtesy of Mr. Clayson Hamasaka, Chief Communications Specialist at State House. My guest this afternoon is Honorable SENSIO BANDA. Honorable, good to see you, and good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good to have you here.
It's a pleasure. Good afternoon, viewers.
Okay, fantastic. Honorable, you are starting this interview with a smile just after I read that particular press release, and we are seeing that this is the second, if not third, reshuffle we are seeing. We saw fisheries and energy swapping. We saw water and green economy swapping. And we are now seeing health and lands swapping. These swappings or reshuffles, they have been met with mixed reactions from members of the public. That it's more like you are transferring a problem to another ministry. And if you look at Ministry of Fisheries, not much has come out in terms of scandals, Honorable. If you look at Ministry of Lands, not much has come out in terms of scandals. So why are we seeing these reshuffles? Why aren't we seeing ultimate dismissal of individuals that are involved in scandals and that have failed to perform in their ministries? Let's take it from there, Honorable.
Yeah, thank you very much for that pertinent question. I think, allow me to just give this matter context.
Please.
You know, government is put in place. The core function of government is to ensure, to promote the welfare of the people, to make life possible, to make life good amid this scarcity of resources. Meaning is to ensure improved service delivery, to ensure that the poorest of the poor, they've got access to the best which a government can provide. However, when there's there's a revenue leak, or when there's corruption in a government, this compromises service delivery. For example, there is a columnist and journalist called Pini Jason. He's a Nigerian.
Okay.
Late, and he came up with a school of thought or a theory on African leaders on corruption. I think which we need to appreciate. I'll summarize it. I'll summarize it. It says that the more distance you are to the office of power in government, the more loud one is on corruption. The closer they get, they become silent, and if they get in office, they are quiet. And he further goes to say, African leaders, it's a question of, in politics, it's a question of having the ruling wicked and the waiting wicked.
The ruling wicked
and the waiting wicked.
And the waiting wicked.
Yes.
I like that one.
Such that, because fighting corruption is not about fighting dishonesty, it's about fighting the erosion of morality and integrity, such that the fight of corruption has to be comprehensive, must be holistic, must deal both with the elements and the culture of corruption, and it must be unbiased. There must not be favoritism in how you deal with the matters of corruption. Rightly so. And you see, for me, that's my opinion.
Okay.
For example, before I even comment on those changes which were made, this is my thinking where the UPND government lost the grip on the fight against corruption. Firstly, it was right in the inception. This fight was brought in dead. Why do I say so?
It was a BID?
Yes.
Why do you say so, Honorable?
Why do I say so? Is that the Constitution provides governance institutions and those which are at the core of fighting corruption. Among them is SEC and DEC. And the Constitution provides that there must be autonomy for these institutions to apply themselves effectively. So there must be checks and balances, there must be transparency and accountability, you know, for those charged with the responsibility of managing national affairs. Okay. But what happened, these institutions were moved to State House. Already they're sitting at the desk of the president. Secondly is also, the issue of non-disclosure of the assets by the president. There's been so much talk back and forth. And in fact, one time my brother, Honorable Mwetwa, did allude to the fact that actually there's no law providing that the president should actually declare the assets. But however, the Constitution, under the principles and values, do accept that actually there must be integrity and morality, or morality and integrity. We must espouse this as a nation. So arising from that, though it is in a declaratory state, it does not punitive measures as a president, because you want to show to the people that I am serious about these fights against corruption. The president should have been the first one to declare his assets. The other aspect is also the pronouncement of the president, you know, where he goes on the public podium and say, we're putting in place laws which will ensure that we recover money from the previous governments. And this has aligned the institution which are meant to administer justice to be selective in the approach to justice. Okay? The selective fight of corruption. But furthermore, what this has done is that, you know, because human behavior is predictable. Like I said, there is the ruling wicked and the waiting wicked. Those who are the waiting wicked, now they're the ruling wicked. And when there's no deterrent and there are no measures to stop them, they'll do exactly what the others did. So for me, what is happening now, right now, I'm not surprised. It does not come as a surprise.
You expected it, Honorable?
Yes, because of the posture the president took to fight corruption. Took the institution like SEC, DEC, which ought to be autonomous, and meaning that the actions of SEC and whatever happens, the buck stops at him. You know, the pronouncements that will put in place laws to deal with PF. For example, the Economical and Financial Crimes Courts was put in place specifically to fast-track litigation related to financial and economical crimes. Ask me just one UPND or government official who's appearing before that court, as it were. So for me is that the fight has been selective. And what this has done is, because no one is immune to corruption, those who are in UPND, they understand the fight is not about us, it's about them. And now they're looting, as it were. So much that now we can come. I want just to give it a background to understand why are we here. Okay, it has happened not as a surprise. It was bound to happen because of certain steps. Because humans' behavior is such that when put in a particular environment, you're able to predict the behavior, as it were. So now coming to what we just said, the transferring of ministers from one ministry to another.
I'm finding it hard to call them reshuffles.
No, they're not.
They're not reshuffles.
They're transfers.
They're transfers.
Yes, they're transfers.
That's the best thing.
They're transfers. They're transfers. So for me, is that there are allegations leveled against Minister Kapala. Okay, and it was in the media, and in fact, one ambassador, Mano Mwamba, did actually write a complaint to SEC, highlighting that the overbearing authority of the minister in procurement process, to an extent that it was alleged that actually he signed awarding contracts, even cancelling some. Wallace actually, if you look at the cabinet handbook, you know, and Public Procurement Act 2020 and the amended one of 2024, a minister is not supposed to be involved in any procurement process, not at all. But it was alleged actually that Honorable Minister Kapala did actually do that. So, however, the matter was reported to SEC. It never saw the light of the day, you know. And again, in fact, other stakeholders did approach the Chief Justice to ask him to set up a tribunal to investigate this matter. Okay. Again, that never saw the light of the day. And again, if you go to Ministry of Health, there was a scandal involving the $1 million US for the infectious disease project. Again, the minister was put in that scandal to say, oh, she went to South Africa and she was over this vehicle by the suppliers, as it were. And then there was even a scandal of oxygen cylinders, and now the 61 containers, you know. And when you see these things, if the president is very serious with the fight against corruption, it should allow these ministers to step aside. If you didn't want to fire them, let them step aside, suspend them, let investigation be meted against them. When they are not found wanting, they're exonerated, then he takes them back to those ministries. Unlike reshuffling them, if it means actually reshuffling problems or transferring problems, as it were. So for me, it's an injustice to both ministers. Why? Because they will still, in the public eye, they will be actually considered to be corrupt. What if they are not? You know, the only system which could do that, it is the system which has been put in place, the SEC and DEG and the courts, as it were. So for me, I expected much from the president. Okay. But all he did was transferred, you know. So I think for me, because of the background I've given, the buck stops at him. He had an opportunity to show the teeth, to bite. But what is done? Just patting him on the back and say, and you know what this does? It sends signals to other ministers. You error, you won't bite, you just transfer you. That's what it's saying.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, the SEC board chairperson, and I'm still reverting back to my earlier statement that how I wish he had exposed what was happening in the ACC honorable when he was board chair and night after being fired. But I monitored his Facebook page, and he wrote a write-up. And part of that write-up, there are so many paragraphs, I think this is paragraph 5, where he says, reading in part, I strongly believe that we cannot fight corruption unless we fight all corruption. Past, present, and future. Those who committed corruption in the past regimes must be investigated and prosecuted. Even current government officials who have betrayed the trust of the people of Zambia must also be investigated and prosecuted. Almost 3 years down the line, we should have seen some government officials arrested and dismissed. This is a matter that was a constant source of friction between the board and those who refuse to do their job in this regard. Instead, they elected to be selective in the discharge of their duties and responsibilities. This is coming from the former board chairperson of the Anti-Corruption Commission of Zambia, Learned Counsel Musa Mwenye, honorable. And on the other hand, we have the expose by one of the board members, Dr. O'Brien Kaba, who most people are holding in high esteem as a man of integrity, for coming out categorically so and saying that the ACC is corrupt. Here is the friction between management and the board, honorable.
First and foremost, it is said that if you want to know how the hippo lives, ask the crocodile.
Oh, they live together in the water.
They live together in the water. So I've got high regards for State Counsel Musa Mwenya. You know, rightly so, because, for example, right from the onset, when the issue of declaring his assets came on board, he was very categorical and he did hint to the fact that there was need for the president, when he was chairman,
Yes.
there was need for the president actually to declare the assets, and that was echoed by the ambassador then, the U.S. ambassador on this matter. So now, you see, the challenge which President HH has is that he has an SEC which is on his desk. So even that compromise of having a very strong board, and they're saying user-friendly. It was being very economical. Compromise management. It's a compromise management. So you see, it's an indictment on the president himself, because the actions of DEC, the actions of SEC, they end up on his desk. Look at this, the allegation that actually the state chambers are a routing machine.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
And you see, state chambers have constitutional offices which are at the core of governance issues, and also at the core of fighting corruption, vis-a-vis the Attorney General, Solicitor General, and the DPP. And yet, these allegations categorically say that this it alleges that these particular officers, they are participating in the routing of national treasury, and rightly so, because State Councilor Amusa Mwenya confirms the fact that there were officials who could have been investigated, but management resisted that. You know, where was it coming from? The DG was reporting to the president. Okay, so where the buck stops? At the president, as it were. So I think for me, the president actually, he has to do better, because
are you disappointed?
I am, because I thought he would have much teeth in the fight against corruption. I had given him a benefit of doubt. I expected some fighting to happen, you know, because you see, corruption is a cancer. It eats away the fabric of society. People died because of corruption. An example, over the 61 containers of medicine. Mind you, a team from State House, from Ministry of Health, for Zamra and Zamsa went to Egypt and actually negotiated, and they signed a contract, okay, to that effect. And according to the tender documents which we saw, that there was a tender of about $65 million, though it was qualified as 24. We didn't see the $24 million tender. So what happened is that in November thereabout, the consignment started coming. Okay, November thereabout, but it was in November it was marooned in Beira. Okay, and government was alerted. So there's this consignment for 3 months, and then January, February they started moving from that end to JJ and, you know, the warehouse. Okay, and then they were marooned again there for almost 7 months.
Exactly.
And the period in question, the minister went on the floor of the house and did indicate there was a shortage of medicines in the country.
Minister of Health.
Minister of Health. And they acknowledged, and I remember President HH did even go one evening to go and work at Minister of Health because of that crisis. Meanwhile, medicines are just at the backyard here in Makeni. You know, the IV fluids, the syringes. And what is appalling, Joe, is that here in Zambia, we manufacture IV fluids, okay? We manufacture syringes. But what's appalling, why should they go and give business to the foreigners? And now, when that happens, you know, and there's a backlash, who do they want to throw under the bus? Victor Nyasulo. At the mature time.
So are you then suggesting, Honorable, this is getting interesting, are you then suggesting that the ZAMSA DG, in this case, him being suspended, is an scapegoat?
Exactly. Why do I say so? Because they're giving us information bit by bit. When it came out, it was like a scandal. 61 containers went missing. But there was a clarification. Okay, so no, actually, it's not what happened. This is what happened. In fact, it's not 65, it's 24. And later on, for me, is that even at the time when the DG joined the institution, they had already consummated the deal. You know, it came along the way. But by yesterday, it has come to light that actually ZAMSA it had no funding.
Yes, according to the interview that he did with one of the daily tabloids.
Yes, had no funding, you know. And I agree with him because already there was a bill of 9 million kwacha for demurrage, as it were. So now, for how long should the minister not know that there's medicine somewhere marooned and some bad news? Should it take 7 months? And in the other case, and you see, this is the problem with corruption. You know, the payment was done, and whoever got the cut, they got their cut, and they went to sleep. Now for almost 7 months, the medicine were marooned. And if you ask the controlling officers, the PSAs and whoever, we didn't know. How come? And meanwhile, people were dying.
Let me ask, Honorable.
Yeah.
We have seen appointments, transfers being done in this current administration, but some of these individuals, Honorable, are fantastically incompetent when it comes to the execution of their duties. For lack of a better term, from what we're seeing, there's no other way of describing what is happening right now. Individuals have shown that they are fantastically incompetent when it comes to matters of governance and leadership. Honorable, are the people of Zambia being taken for granted? We have the crisis of the load shedding, we have erratic water supplies, we have the high cost of living, we have high fuel pump prices, we have hospitals that are running without medicines, but patients are being given prescriptions, Honorable, to go and buy over-the-counter drugs. And you have a scandal like that happening at the Ministry of Health, and the minister on the floor of Parliament tells the whole nation that we only knew about this last week Friday, and she expects the Zambian people to go to sleep peacefully, that the ministry didn't know. Where was government operatives to find out, because this was a government-to-government transaction, to find out what is really happening? Are the people of Zambia being taken for granted when it comes to governance and leadership in this country?
You know, one thing which the government should appreciate, and the president in particular, is that he's carrying the hopes, the dreams, the aspiration. There's so much expectancy. He's carrying them on his shoulders. And as such, there is need to be prudent and frugal in the management of national resources. They are not doing it for their own selves. They are doing it on behalf of Zambians, because Zambia is as though a country, a company where everyone else has got shares.
But from the look of things,
dividends.
Let me not hold your thought,
Yes.
Honorable. But from the look of things, it seems like it's only being run by the political elite and their associates, companions, whatever. Because the majority Zambians are not being shown. They are not feeling like they are part of this company called Zambia, if you like. They are not shareholders. They're just spectators in the running of the affairs of this country. Some sectors of society have demanded for dismissal of certain ministers. What have we seen? Transfers. Honorable. Now, if a questionable minister is taken to another ministry, so what? What happens now?
It's really sad, because, like I said earlier on, is that a government is put in place to make life possible, to make life better. And when you see these gaps, when you see these inexcesses, it's saddening rather, because there were high expectations on this government to deliver. But like you rightly said, I think, for me, that's an personal opinion, I think more of the policies are business-centric. Let me give an example. In the area of food, when UPND government came into government, when UPND came into government 2021, they, of course, there was the about 4.5 metric tons of maize. Okay, and in that particular year, consumption, export, and animal feed 3 million, and we had 1.5 as surplus. But of course, they said no, PF had not paid farmers. Hold that thought. On other lane, UPND government, because policy has to be evidence-based, UPND government understood that there was El Nino coming, and its impact will be on water and food. And the UPND government was put in place to find solution, not to exacerbate the crisis. And as such, for UPND, it was supposed to find money elsewhere, okay, to pay the farmers. Having at the back of mind that at opportune time, we need these maize, okay? I mean, for example, because I know policies, they are dealt in clusters. They look at, okay, in the mines, I think we need to ensure leverage on the royalties or the taxes to ensure that the money which comes from there, we take it, we pay the farmers, and have these strategic reserve in place, which is very critical in terms of to deal with issues of emergency response, to stabilize the prices of milling meal, and also if there's surplus to export. Now, because of that business-centric policy which they pursued, hence we have got this problem. Yes, droughts are bound to happen, but could have been the burden could have been lessened other than us going out there to beg for food. And it's laughable and it's sad that today Rwanda, which is 29 times smaller than Zambia, they come and give us food. It's really sad, you know. And
Honorable, when you as politicians, policymakers, you have served at that high level, Honorable, when you're making these decisions for the people of Zambia, do you ever think about the reputation that you create or the reputation that you exhibit towards our neighbors in the international community? You had maize, for instance, you sold it, and you went on to begin to beg with begging bowls to the UN. Rwanda is now giving us maize, a kind gesture from Rwanda. We appreciate. Tanzania, you start importing. Do you sometimes sit and think about the global perception, reputation that your decisions as politicians, where they put the country at? Do you think about this, or it's all about us individuals who are serving right now? It doesn't matter what others say about Zambia. Let's just do what we have to do.
Rightly so. This has been the route, government in, government out,
exactly,
in terms of handling national affairs. But there must be paradigm shifts. There must be a leadership which will, first and foremost, that will have empathy for the people, which will feel the pain for the people, which will feel when they go to negotiate for deals. For example, they go to negotiate for a mine deal in Dubai, whatever the case is. What should be in their mind is the people of Zambia. How can this money be channeled to improve the supply of medicines and medical supplies? Or how can this medicine be actually channeled into ensuring equal opportunity for jobs and also employment? How can this money be channeled to improve the agricultural sector? We need selfless people. You know, what we lack is being selfless, as it were. We can be the most educated, but don't have empathy for the people. You'll be a bad leader, as it were. So for me, there's need to put Zambia first in all what we do, in all our intervention. Another example is the issue of electricity.
Okay.
It borders on the same score, is that, you know, reliable access to energy is related to human capital development and economical development.
Okay.
And as such, any nation which has prioritized reliable access to energy is a country which has developed. And in an event when there's a gap or there is scarcity of these particular resources, the government should prioritize its people, should prioritize its economic activities. But what did we see? In fact, the other day there was a tabloid from Botswana indicating that Botswana is exporting about 48% electricity from Zambia. Amidst this gap, we're still exporting. What are we saying about Zambians? What are we saying about an entrepreneur, the barber man out there, those with saloon, those with butcheries, those with bakeries? What are we saying? Do we care about Zambia? And this is what I'm saying. When you are espousing these policies, they must be people-centric. You know, you're able to look at, right now, the vulnerability of the people has been escalated, as it were. There's high cost of living, there's load shedding.